everybody. My husband decided to surprise me, and we're going to go up to the Pickle Patch in San Andreas, which is one of our favorite places. When we used to live in Valley Springs, California, we always went to the Pickle Patch, which we absolutely loved. And so we're kind of on our, last 30 days here before, last 30 days before retirement. And we leave for our adventure, and so we're kind of visiting some of our favorite places.
Yeah.
So this is a gorgeous day. I don't know, it's like 75 degrees or something. It's gorgeous. And we're going to head up to our favorite place. So we'll give you a little footage of that. If you haven't been to the Pickle Patch in San Andreas, California, you gotta go. It's delicious. Meanwhile, it's about an hour drive, huh?
It's about an hour, yeah.
Yeah. So we thought we would talk about what brought us to California to begin with. That was in, 1987?
1986 is when I first arrived, and then you and the family got here in 87.
Yeah. So you came first with my brother in search of basically work, because the work had pretty much dried up in Texas.
Right.
Yeah. So Michael had a connection here in California, and they said, yeah, come on out. And
yeah, for a few years before we actually moved here, we traveled around a bit doing Embassy Suite hotels, and I did one in Redwood City in the Bay Area, and so I made some friends because it took about 5 months for that project. So I made some friends that I worked with, and so just in calling and chit-chatting, catching up from Texas, they were inquiring of how things were going, and I'm like, well, the work's kind of dried up here. And they're like, well, pack your bags and come out here, because there's more work than you know what to do with. So with some coaxing from my wife, because I didn't really want to leave necessarily, I said, okay. So my brother-in-law and I jumped in the van and took off and drove to California.
Yeah, so basically we came to California for economic reasons. It was tough for a Texas guy to leave Texas and come to California, but we did it for economic reasons. And now it's kind of full circle here. How many years later now?
So 36 years later, and now economic times are pushing us out of the state.
Yeah.
So we watched for several years, probably the first 10 to 12 years that we were here, the economics stayed the same. Our house was $125,000. It was probably worth between $125 and $130 for 10 or 12 years. And then it seemed like overnight, within maybe a 6-month period, the house increased by almost doubled, and then it tripled within the next year. And so we had sold and opened a business at the time, and so trying to get back into the market was really hard. And we ended up getting back into the market with our kids. We bought a house together and stayed there for 4 or 5 years, and then set out to just on our own, because the kids were looking for their place and we were looking for something. So we set on our own, and we realized we had to go at least 45 minutes east of where we lived in Lodi to be able to afford anything to purchase. And then shortly after that, we even moved another 30 minutes further east to be able to afford something. So, yeah. And then by the time we sold at the top of the market, which was 2 years ago in April, at least according to statistics here, we moved back into some friends of ours had a rental in Lodi, and we moved back in, only to realize that now the house that we sold for $310,000 was $600,000. So it doesn't take a rocket science to fill out that we're not going to be able to live here. We're never going to be able to purchase. So now we're looking at places where
we didn't sell our house.
The one on Kegel.
Oh, okay. All right.
The last time we were in Lodi.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, yes, we bought 2 houses since we moved out of Lodi, and we had to go east to be able to do that. Yeah. About 45 minutes. But the last home we sold in town was around 300, and now that same home is about 600.
Yeah.
So we realized that when we came back to town, we were not going to be able to purchase in the community that we raised our kids and our family in.
Yeah. Okay, so our main motivation for moving here was economic, and our main reason for leaving, unfortunately, is also economic as far as main reason. There's other reasons that, you know, we don't need to go into. But this has been our home for a long time, and it's going to be really challenging to leave. But, you know, we have Social Security and a small pension, and so the idea is, how can you make that go farther? So we took the equity from the home that we sold in Valley Springs, and our hope is that maybe we can buy something with cash in our next state. And you know, we'll see. We're still exploring that. We're leaning towards Tennessee. There'll be some future videos that will explain why Tennessee is our first state that we're really putting boots on the ground and really going to live there for a period of time and really look into it. But yeah, it's let's be honest, it's a struggle to leave, but there's grass can be greener on the other side of the road.
Grass can be greener,
right?
Yeah.
We loved California, and we love our friends, and we love our family, and we love our church here, and so we don't want anybody to think that this has been an easy decision. In fact, it's been years worth of a decision trying to decide. You wanted to do it first for a long time, and we're trying to prompt me to follow with that. And our two kids, our son and our daughter, are here, and their grandchildren and spouses are here, and our church, and all you know, my mom is here. So I thought, well, that we just can't do that. We just can't leave, you know, many years worth of relationships. And again, that reminds me of when we left Texas, because when we left Texas, it was the same thing. We were a young family. We had the two children at the time. We didn't know anyone here in Lodi. I had a friend who had a really good friend who lived in Lodi, and so we connected and became very fast friends. So that was cool. But we came here with the same thing, where we had $300 in our pocket. Michael had a job. He found us a place to live, to rent a house with my brother and his wife, and we rented that for a while together. And we came here with the same thing, where we didn't know really what was ahead of us. And you can look at it as an adventure, or you can look at it like, woe is me, oh, I'm leaving everyone. People, when we were leaving Texas, a lot of people thought we were crazy to do what we were doing, but we had to do it because of economic reasons. And so we're kind of facing the same thing right now. I don't know if you can see as we're driving, but we're driving through some of the beautiful hilly areas as we're heading up into the foothills of Northern California. And you might be able to see some of the vineyards are starting to get green again. It's April, and so everything's still really green. Eventually it'll all get brown, but right now it's really pretty, and it makes for a really beautiful drive. So you might be seeing that out of Michael's window. But when I felt like God had laid it on my heart that I needed to listen to Michael, and we needed to go to a place where we could better afford it, that was a really, really tough and a very emotionally challenging moment for me, and it still is. It still brings a lot of tears to my eyes, and I don't think for one second that it's going to be easy. It's not. Who knows what's going to happen in the next year or two in our lives? Who knows what's going to happen here in California? Who knows if our kids are still going to be living here? I assume they will. We don't know, but we're just going to put one foot in front of the other and trust that God has us just like He had us when we first moved here, and just take one step at a time and follow God's leading, and trust Him along the way, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Charles Stanley. Obey God, leave all the consequences to Him.
Yep. And then I guess a realization for us is that we thought we had always, since our marriage began, we had always just considered that we would be around family would expand to whatever degree, and then we would always be together. We would live in the same place for the rest of our lives. And our family, I think that part of the ease of being able to move out of state is that our family has encouraged us. Yes, listen, Mom and Dad, you guys have to live where you can afford to live. And so, sure, look around and see what's out there, see what's available. And then we can always come visit, send the kids for the summer, whatever it happens to be. So that alleviated some of our stress and concerns about leaving the family.
Yeah, it helps when your family is supportive of it. And they're very adventurous people too. My mom travels to India all the time. My daughter's very adventurous, always looking for a new adventure. So it really is helpful that we have friends and family that say, hey, go have an adventure, go see where it takes you. But for a lot of people, that's very unsettling because they want to have all the questions answered. The number one question is, if I sell my house, where will I go? And I hear that all the time. They're like, you sold your house, where are you going? And I'm like, well, we're living in a rental for how long it's been now? It'll be
almost
2 years now in July. And we're basically watching the market, watching the interest rates, and things are still a little high, and interest rates, of course, are high. Now, hopefully we can pay cash and we don't have to worry about the interest rates, but we'll see when we get to our first destination, which is Tennessee. And I'm going to discuss why Tennessee is our first destination in a video after this, so stay tuned for that. So anyways, it was a tough decision, but we have a lot of supportive family, and so we're really grateful for that. Okay, so you might be curious, what are we going to do since we sold our house? So let me give you a little background on that, because it was really beautiful to see God's design in this whole process. And I really do recommend that. That's your first step when you're thinking about making a big change in your life. Is this something that you feel like God is leading you to? Because if you just do it purely in your head, I personally think you can get in trouble. You want to think through things logically and carefully and all that kind of stuff. But first and foremost is God prompting you to do it. So we had this prompting that Michael was like, we're going to need to move out of the state. So we had this kind of hanging in the back of our head. Then we heard that a friend of ours, they were wanting to move to Wisconsin, and they had a lovely house in Lodi, and they didn't really want to rent it to just anyone. They wanted to make sure that if it didn't work out in Wisconsin, they could move back and their house would be still intact and taken care of. And so they had an idea about moving to Wisconsin, but what about their house here? They didn't want to sell it, and they didn't just want to put it on the rental market. So I contacted her and said, well, we're thinking of selling and you're thinking of moving. I wonder if these two things could come together. So we found out that, yes, they could come together. And they came together really, I think, in kind of a miraculous, divine design, I think, way.
Yep.
Yeah. So the first thing that probably happened was I said, well, we'll contact an agent and just see where things are. And so we contacted an agent that just lived down the street. She was very well known in the Valley Springs area as like #1 agent, and she just lived up the street from us, so we knew her. So we had her over just as kind of a conversation to see how things were. And she said, after touring our house, she said, I have someone who wants to buy your house. I just took her shopping today. This is exactly the house that she wants. Would you be open to showing it to her? So anyways, we did show it to her. The house didn't even go on the market. She bought the house for our agreed upon price. And so we told our friends of ours who had the house in Lodi, well, we have someone who's interested in buying. Do you want to move forward on your end? And they're like, yeah, we need 3 months, but yes, give us 3 months and we can do that. Well, the person buying the house, they needed 3 months, And we were happy to have 3 months. So it all turned out that the timing was just perfect. The other thing that was really unique about the situation is that my son and his wife, and what was Mia, was like 1 year old at the time, 1.5 years old at the time, moved into our house during the pandemic. So she was a new mom, new baby, and it was very isolating during the pandemic. So we converted our garage really quickly, and they moved in. So if we were going to move and sell our house, that also affected them because it was their house where they were living as well. Well, lo and behold, our friends who owned their house in Lodi, they were in the process of building like an ADU/garage. So it was a garage with a 750 square foot apartment on the back of it. They weren't sure what they were going to do with it, but they needed a garage and decided to make an ADU as well. Maybe it would be his office, maybe they would rent it. They weren't really sure. But they decided, well, let's just go ahead and finish that off. And then Matt and Chelsea and Mia had a place to move into. So we got this great house. I'll show you some pictures. We got this great house that fit my mom, because my mom's been living with us for the past few years. And it fit Michael and I and my mom beautifully. And it also gave Chelsea and Matt and Mia a separate apartment right on the same property. So the timing was perfect. The property was unique and perfect. So you can't look something like that and go, okay, I think God was up to something. Huh.
It was a God thing.
It was a God thing. And that's why I say you take the first step. So our first step was, well, let's check with the agent. Well, okay, well, it looks like that would work. And oh, wow, the house sold immediately. Oh, but we need more time. Oh, okay, everybody needs more time. Oh, we need this really unique place to live. Oh, okay, well, we found this really unique place to live. So we have to believe that those first steps, which were so strange to all come together and all came together so beautifully, that we have to believe that these next ones are going to be. So what's our next step after? So you retire on May 10th.
Yep, last day.
Okay, you retire on May 10th, and then on May 11th, we get in the car. So what's next, Michael?
Well, what's interesting about what was all next is that there was all kinds of circumstances that we went to Tennessee and visited some friends of ours that lived there just to visit them and just to see. They talked Tennessee up so much, we just thought we just better go see if what they're saying is would fit us. So we went there and really just fell in love with the place, really liked it. But still, there's that, what are you going to do? Are we going to buy when we get there? Or are we going
I looked into moving. I remember?
Yeah.
Like 2 pods. This was back in January, I think. 2 pods, it was like $6,000 to move all our stuff. Ooh, I don't like my stuff that much.
Yeah.
$6,000. And our friends, I think they had paid like $27,000 to move. So you've got to be really serious about
packing your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that
God
really
gave us another solution.
Yeah, that really wasn't economically feasible to do that. That didn't make any sense to us. And then if we were going to take the equity from the home we sold, what were we going to buy? And then if we were going to buy, there was everything we looked at in that short window of time, that 10-day period that we were with them, was probably, we would have to get a small mortgage from probably $50,000 to $100,000 at least for what the economics were there in that area. So we thought, well, if we have to do that, the interest rates are high, do we want to do that? And so anyway, short story is a lady across the street from us, where we're living in the rental now, has short-term rentals, and we were inquiring about it, and she said, well, they use an organization called Furnish Finders, and they rent mostly to traveling nurses, but they'll rent to anyone. So we started looking into that just out of curiosity, and we found several places, especially one was on the lake where we had stayed when we had gone there.
And Furnished Finders is a completely furnished house. So most people rent it for like 90 days, and it's completely furnished. It's like an Airbnb, but it's a longer commitment. You actually sign a lease, but you're not committed to a whole year. So we decided, like, well, I wonder if we could find something through Furnish Finders. But meanwhile, my son and my mom decided that she wanted to stay here in California. What happens with them if we decide to go rent a house? And so we talked to them, and they decided that maybe they would go ahead, and we've arrived at Pickle Patch. Yay, Pickle Patch. Maybe they would go ahead and move into the big house, and we would try and help our friends find a house, someone to rent the back house.
Yeah.
Right? Someone to rent the back house. And so if we could find something on Furnish Finders, if we could find something on Furnish Finders, what about Matt? Again, what about Mom? So they ended up renegotiating with our friends, and they are moving into the big main house up in front, and all four of them will live there. Mm-hmm. And we found somebody else to rent the apartment in the back, and we ended up finding a property on Boone Lake, which is the area that we want to be, which is in Northeast Tennessee, and it's $1,300 a month, including utilities and internet and all that stuff, and it comes completely furnished. So it's basically bring your clothes, bring your whatever you want, but basically it's done.
Just like you're traveling.
Yeah, just kind of like an Airbnb. Yeah. Basically an Airbnb, but you get to stay longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were, when we talked to the gentleman who owned the place that we're renting in Tennessee, he's like, we usually like to rent it for 3-month blocks, which was great for us, because really in thinking even that through is that, well, you know, you can go someplace for 10 days and kind of get a slight lay of the land, but if you go someplace for 3 months, you really can determine, is this where I really want to be? And if it is, what location do I want to be in this larger metropolitan area? And so
you're not paying big fees. You're not paying like when you rent for like a year, there's, you know, like first and last and lots of big fees. Well, Furnish Finder doesn't have all these big fees, and it just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense. It's an easy transition. It's not a lot of money that you have to outlay like you're moving, and it's only a 3-month commitment, and then you can rent longer if you want to, or you can, in our case, we're going to another state after that. So anyway.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's our story, and we're sticking to it. Now, let's go have lunch.
Yeah.
Pickle Patch. Let me show you the front door. Gotta love it. So cute. What's your favorite thing about the Pickle Patch?
The BLT and the potato salad.
The food. Okay.
The food. Spectacular.
Super good quality.
To be honest with you, there is no reason that we really go anyplace other than the food. So we plan our vacations around food. We plan our trips around food. Everything is about food. So you don't, you know.
In fact, you have a hat on.
Yeah.
Dave's Coffee Shop.
Dave's Coffee. That's about food.
That's in Rhode Island.
That's giant muffins and all kinds of great pastries and great coffee.
Yes, yes.
But we don't.
But we like the landscaping. It does have, you do hear road noise, but it's like a park-like setting here. It's so pretty. We've got the fountain, lots and lots of seating. Normally the place is completely full. But what time is it? It's like 2.
It's after 2.
Yeah. So we've come and it's pretty late. Trees aren't fully bloomed. As you can see, some of them are starting to do that. So normally you get a lot more shade. But yeah, it's like a park.
It is a park.
It is. It's like a park.
And so it's nice. It's outside. Beautiful flowers, beautiful surroundings, great food. Just a nice place. Tucked away.
Feels like you're having lunch at a park.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's kind of tucked away off the road. I mean, there is a major road that goes through this area, but it's kind of tucked in a little valley area that you wouldn't know that was here. You could miss it.
Yeah, yep. It's a little gem in San Andreas. Okay, let's take some video footage of that BLT. And potato salad. And the Pickle Patch pickle, of course.
Of course.
Which are homemade and they're to die for and delicious. There's my Marita's Special, which is a tri-tip special. Oh, by the way, we really should split these. And a lot of times we do. But today we're living it up, right?
Living large.
Take a bite. Let me know. What do you think? They have really good bacon, don't they?
Great bacon.
Yeah, yeah. And they have very good potato salad too. Yeah. Good tomatoes.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Nicely toasted.
Perfect.
Yes. And my barbecue, my tri-tip, I know, always has a wonderful smoky flavor. You can kind of see some of the peppering of their meat. It's quite delicious.